What do good leaders do? Now, last month I had the privilege of speaking to folk all around the world, asking them, what are the best things about you leaders? What do you admire? What do you respect the most about them? Now, I know that you guys are getting bombarded with information on all the different platforms, so let me be brief and just outline the key learnings that I had off the back of these research conversations. So, you want to be a good leader? Here's what you can do. Authenticity is a big word in the leadership space at the moment, and I wasn't surprised that it was a key theme that came up in the leadership conversations. Take all these different quotes. I think authenticity, being genuine, and actually caring about other people are the most important signs of good leadership to me. Probably one of my leaders' greatest strengths is that they're genuine, transparent about what they're saying, and what they're talking about. A quality in my leaders that's important to me is sharing feelings. It's okay to say, actually I'm quite nervous, or I'm quite scared, I'm a bit confused. Being a vulnerable human. As you can see, we want our leaders to be genuine and human and vulnerable and authentic. But let's dive deeper into authentic leadership, as I found the research sparked some interesting explorations on the nuances of vulnerability and transparency in authentic leadership. So again, let me share a couple different quotes. One of the skills I'm trying to understand is how to tiptoe the balance of being vulnerable and being reserved so that I don't burn myself out. One of my leader's greatest strengths is transparency. He's always really good at sharing his highs and his lows. He's definitely transparent and authentic in terms of emotions too, which I think can be a positive and a negative, depending on what the emotions are, as he usually shares volatile emotions, which can influence me and the team. So let me summarize what I learned and what I think you can apply into your own leadership. So, constant transparency and vulnerability can lead to burnout, so we have to be aware of that. And then also we want leaders who are able to be transparent with their thoughts and their emotions, but not to the detriment of their team. So that leads me on to the title of this section of one of the ways that you can be a good leader, which is to be authentic, be yourself, yet reveal with discernment. The way I like to see it is on a spectrum of transparency, where we're always ourselves, but we're able to adapt what we show and what we reveal depending on the situation and the people that we're with. So on one end of the spectrum, we have completely closed, 0% transparency. And this is where we have that robot-like demeanor. Nothing is shown on our face. We're not revealing anything from behind. We're not authentic at all. We're faking who we are. On the other side of the spectrum, we have 100% transparent. And this is where we're so open and we're so unfiltered that we are burying other people in our emotional baggage or just vomiting and spewing our thoughts on others' already full plates. Nothing is filtered. And when we look at that spectrum, we don't want to be on those extremes. We want to be in that middle bit where we're able to understand when we need to dial up or dial down what we do reveal about ourselves, what we show to others and to our teams or to the world, depending on that situation and who we're with. That's the skill of authentic leadership that came up off the back of this research, off the back of these conversations. So I put together a handful of different questions for us to reflect on as we build the muscles of our leadership. So go ahead and pause the video if you want to dive into that now. Otherwise, come back to it at your leisure. Now, for those of you already leading, I encourage you to both give autonomy and provide support. This was a theme that came up again and again in the research. So once again, let me bring up a couple quotes for you. I want to have the freedom to do things with the protective hands of someone with more experience backing me up. The best leaders have allowed me to fail and explore. Now, I recognize that everyone has their own preference in terms of autonomy, but the core sentiment that came up in the research was that we want our leaders to put up the scaffolding for us, but allow us to find our own way up it. And if we are struggling to find the window or secure the stakeholder, or we slip or fall down a level or whatever it is, we're having a hard time, then we want our leader to be able to give us that guidance and that support to help us move up that scaffolding in the right direction. And again, I see this on a spectrum. So this time, a spectrum of support when we look at autonomy. On one end of the, the support spectrum, we have too much support. Say 100% support. And this is micromanagement. This is where we're, craning our shoulders, looking over and having someone always looking at the work we're doing. How frustrating that is. No creativity, no freedom, no autonomy at all. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we have no support whatsoever, all the autonomy. And here, that means that we have all the responsibility, but also no guidance, no advice, and no direction. So we don't know if we're rowing in the right direction or we're going off completely haywire in a completely different direction. So once again, we're aiming for that middle section there of the spectrum, where we have enough support that we know the right direction that we're going, and we can get advice and guidance as we need it. But then also enough freedom, enough autonomy to figure out our own path of how to get there. Let me leave you with a final thought. I believe that autonomy is earned incrementally. The more experience that I have with a task, the better my track record, the more freedom I've earned to do it in a way that I choose. So, if you're not yet a leader, earn that autonomy. If you're already a leader, reward good work, reward that track record with more autonomy. Work is not insular. Work is not an isolated compartment. It's not everything. Work is intertwined with life. So if you want to be a good leader, well, the research brought this right to the forefront. Work is part of life. Now let me bring up that quote that I had in the section headline. What do good leaders do? A big one for me is that they take me as a whole person. And they don't just focus on the necessary skills or work tasks. Now I found that part of the research really spoke volumes to me and was particularly relevant in my mind with artificial intelligence becoming more and more integrated in our work and our lives. And with the new technology, all the new technologies becoming such a foundation, a fixture of our work, then for me, the human element becomes more and more important. And we don't want our leaders to see us as, just worker bees or a cog in the system with a specific task designed just for work or that one thing, but as those whole persons with all the strengths and weaknesses, foibles, aspirations, needs and delights that humans have. And so if you're a leader and your leadership, ask about their birthday, share those stories of the weekend adventure, lend that empathetic ear when that person on your team or in life or me, is going through those challenges. And all of this, again, builds connection, or that's how I see it. If we see you and me as that whole person, not just here's work, but that balance between life and work, then it builds that connection, which then in turn builds that loyalty. Now I've approached this research and this video from the lens of young professionals, and I just want to challenge us and to remind us that our leaders are whole people too, and sometimes their lives will affect work, and when it makes sense, when it's relevant, to cut them some slack, or if it makes sense, lend them that empathetic ear that they've lent us as well. So just leaving us with that challenge to remember that our leaders are humans too. Listen. Listening was another key theme that came up in the leadership conversations. We want leaders who actually listen to us, involve us, take our inputs, and take the time to actually hear what we're saying. One of the best things about our leader is that while they're the leader, they're very much willing to hear the inputs of everyone else. The best leaders, for me, make me feel appreciated and create a safe space to bring ideas and questions. They don't make me feel like a burden. Now you can see from these quotes, and I know you already know this, but just as a reminder, we admire, we respect leaders who take the time to listen, who listen to hear, who are willing to take on our ideas and listen to our input and allow that to be part of the strategy, to incorporate that in the ideas going forward. So if you want to improve your leadership, here's a little tool that I found useful, and this can be used whether you're leading right now or you will be a leader in the future. So first step is just identify someone in your life who you think listens very well. And then the second step is just to take that moment to explore, what do they actually do? What do they do when they're listening? And third step is to find 3 to 5 things, behaviors, that you want to emulate in your life, that you want to try. And that leads on to the fourth step, which is just experiment. Test those out. What are those behaviors? How can you apply those in your life? Awesome. So go ahead, see if you can create that safe space for people to bring their ideas, their concerns, their challenges, their inputs to you without feeling embarrassed or uncomfortable or uncertain or holding back. The final leadership quality that came up in the research was lead by example. And I know you've heard this before, and I know it sounds cliche, but it came up again and again and again and again and again. The best thing about the leaders is that they're very hands-on and they lead by example. I experienced someone leading by example and leading in such a way that they inspired people to respect them. They lead by example, they exemplify, they practice what they preach, and they're people that you look up to. They have good morals, values, and you know what they're saying and doing, and they're also living. I think that's what resonates most with me. It's definitely difficult when you have a leader that's telling you to do X, Y, or Z, and then they're behaving very differently. You know, why should we listen to someone who says one thing and then does something else? You know, what should we even listen to? Or the instructions of what they said or the behavior of what they do? Now, I know leading by example can sound cliche, and you know it already, but it's a timeless cornerstone of leadership. So, as you continue your leadership journey, I'm encouraging you to be that role model, to be consistent, align your instructions with how you behave as well, and just lead by example. You want to be a good leader? Well, here's a summary of some of the things that you can do to be a good leader. Now, I recognize that the leadership qualities and characteristics that I share, these are high-level brushstrokes. So just have your antennas up, because I'm going to continue to dive deeper into some of these different topics to figure out some practical ways that we can implement this, some tools or some reflective questions, and just wishing you the most fantastic day.